organization's main fan page on Facebook. Tonight is Tuesday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. I know there's lots and lots of people here in the States that are doing Cinco de Mayo a bit differently this year, right? No matter what, yeah, I'm hoping that you guys had a good celebration and we're happy, joyful, right? But tonight, I am so happy to have you here with us. Thank you, everyone that's in the live chat, for coming and being with us this evening. And that those that are going to be watching the show by the recorded version, thank you too for making time in your day to spend with us during to watch the recording. And before we get too far down the road, I have to do one thing. I have to find our live stream, the show, on my phone because I want to send it over to my news feed. And I know it's here. I saw us. There's that. There we go. I just want to make sure my sound's turned down with my phone. Don't want to get all squelchy. So I would invite you to also send it over to your newsfeed if you want to, or maybe to a friend, because you know what we're going to be talking about tonight with my guest is about anxiety, revealing and healing, right? And so if you know somebody that would benefit from hearing the information, being a part of a spiritual conversation about it, send the link over to them and hopefully they'll be able to join us. Okay. So I'm sending it over to my news feed. So hang on just a second. It's just going to take me a moment here. And Rob, your mic is open, Rob.
Was I cussing?
No, not yet.
About to.
Okay, there we go. And it's posted. Good. Thanks for waiting. Appreciate it. So my guest tonight, she and I met not too long ago, but we kind of hit it off. Do you ever meet somebody like that and you think that you feel like you've known them for a really long time? And we probably have shared maybe a past life or something. I don't know. But Lorraine and I, we met in a mastermind group and got interested in what we each do for our careers. And I have to say, I was listening to her sharing, and I thought, where is this lady from? Because of her accent, right? She sounded like she was up near me. And so I had to ask her when we had some private time to talk, and I find out that she's from Canada. And I thought, no wonder why, because longtime listeners here, every once in a while I sound like I am from Canada. Every once in a while. And so I want to introduce to you this lady who I'm peeps, I'm thinking that you're just going to love her because let me tell you a little bit about her, okay? Her name is Lorraine LaPointe, and that she says that she has the privilege of working with mompreneurs and other naturally generous, big hearted business owners who live to serve and want to grow in purposeful ways. Okay. She is the creator of Head Heart Synergy, a company that's dedicated to empowering remarkable personal transformation. Lorraine is passionately helps to adjust perspective, your perspective. I'm sorry. I highlighted something and it kind of moved a word for me. So passionately helps you adjust perspective through playful inner detective work. So you easily, um, you're going to like this word, auto magic your business. Don't you like that word, auto magic? And she also is a former teacher and educational leader. She now thrives as a stepmom with a wonderful husband and works as a coach therapist because of the way life has sculpted her character and spirit. Don't you? I just love that. And she also says that what she does is she passionately helps others root out the unwanted beliefs preventing success and resolve the uncomfortable emotions creating anxiety and exhaustion. Now, do you think maybe she's talking to a few of us? I think so. So let me bring her on. Let me bring her on. Here's Lorraine. There she is. Hello, Lorraine. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome to Star Nations. This is your first official visit to Star Nations.
It is, and I'm so thrilled to be here. This is just wonderful. And thank you for that warm welcome. I really appreciate it, Neshi.
Oh, yeah. So, one of the things that I want our audience to know about is that you do understand and embrace spirituality, because Star Nations community, that's our foundation. That's the golden thread that runs through connecting all of us, is our belief that we're spirit and that we're love. And so, and I want my audience to know that you share the same thing, because that's how we got connected.
Yeah, absolutely. As a coach therapist, one of the things that I have the privilege of doing is really delving into the brain. I've studied the brain for so long, and I'll try and keep it really light and easy.
Okay.
But when I'm doing hypnotherapy with somebody, we move the conscious mind out of the way so we can get to the subconscious mind. But what really influences people's healing is connection with their soul or their spirit through the superconscious, we call it. And I love running my sessions where I call in my guides and my group, as I call them, and I have them work with whoever I'm working with. So I know that the work that I'm doing is both here on the physical plane and on the spiritual plane. And I credit my guides with, the success and the benefits that my clients receive. So,
yeah, that's really great. And if you could share with us a little bit about what is head heart synergy, because that's the name of your business, and I love that name. I do. And so, what is it, and how did you even get to that particular name?
well, at first my business name was Caring Space, but that didn't have the resonance, and so I really put it out to the universe, and I put it out to spirit, and I said, I need something that's going to resonate, that really explains what it is that I do for others and with others. And so head heart synergy, if you are in alignment with your thoughts and your beliefs, which of course is your head, and you align that with your passions and your dreams, which is your heart, then life flows with greater ease and it's more purposeful. So that's the synergy part. And that was a download to me a couple of years ago. And it just, one morning I woke up and there it was. I asked for the name and there it was. So
Yeah,
argue.
Okay, I think we're having just a little technical difficulty with that one. Yeah. I think we're having just a little connectivity issue going on here, because we just lost that last piece that you said, and I'm having some background noise. Hang on.
Is that any better? How about that? How's that?
Can you hear me?
Let me try something.
Okay, Rob is going to try to fix it. So why don't we just give him a second here?
Okay.
And we'll see if he can do some magic.
I've disconnected my other mic. He can let me know if he needs that back.
Okay, and you sound good now. So maybe that was.
So I will continue to
whether it was your mark or what I just did, I don't know.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll roll with it. We'll say thank you, and we'll roll with it. All right. So that last piece that you said, the last maybe sentence or two, we didn't get.
What I was saying is, when I asked Spirit for a business name that would explain to people what was most important, that was the download. Head heart synergy. It needs to be in alignment. Our thoughts and our beliefs with our passions and our dreams in our heart, and that creates the synergy so that life can flow.
Yes. I tell you what, I know that I'm just looking at the names that are in the chat. They're so going to get that piece about you receiving the name of your business during that dream time. You know?
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. I love that story.
Hmm.
Um, so, and so that synergy piece, because we, believing that there's no coincidences, right? That
Mm.
everything comes to us in that divine timing. Um, and so I love that. So, can you tell us a little bit about your path, your journey with anxiety? How did that become one of the pillars that you work with your clients? How did that come about?
Well, to explain that, I need to back up a little bit to when I was teaching. So when I started as a teacher, I taught children with special needs.
Mm,
And one of the things that became apparent very early on is that children with high anxiety have parents with high anxiety. And so I learned as a teacher that if in order to teach children effectively and in order for people to and parents to help teach their children, we first had to manage the anxiety, the fears that were driving them, because fear derails what we want to do with our lives. And so I started, that was 35 years ago. So that was sort of, I've been doing this a long time.
yeah.
And then I became a principal in my career. And one of the things that became really apparent was how anxiety affected teachers. And of course, teachers affect students.
Yeah.
So it was really important when I was a principal to help my staff manage their anxiety so that they could be great role models for the children
Oh,
and the community.
yeah.
And then when I left education, I had always wanted to study hypnotherapy because I'd studied the brain for so long. And I wanted modalities that could really get to the heart of what was causing anxiety. And now those are the tools that I have discovered and that I help my clients use.
Yeah.
Is we really dig into what is underneath the fear. What's causing the fear?
And see, that's the part that really interested me because I have this thing about getting to the root, right?
Hmm.
Go to the root. And as soon as you find the root and you understand where it all started and you start to heal that, it's like a domino effect that other things that have been in your life tend to dissipate or at least lessen enough for you to be able to turn your attention to them and do that another round of healing around that. But because we all want to have that time in our lives um, where we don't feel like we're being controlled by something outside of ourselves.
Hmm.
And when we have that high anxiety and that fear running, a lot of times we're well, that fear is fight, flight, and freeze, you know,
Yeah.
and getting hopefully, getting when you get to the root, you can start understanding, and so
Yeah. And I mean, the model that I use, I mean, all models are wrong, is how I always start, but some are useful.
yeah,
That was a quote from my mentor, Lion Goodman.
yeah,
And the model that I use with my clients is that when we look in the mirror, we appear to be one being. We see ourselves, but we are not one being. We are multiple parts created to create a being. And
mhm,
so the way I explain it is, and the model that I use is, you get to Friday night and you've worked all week. Well, in the old normal or the previous normal, as I'm
six
calling it.
weeks ago.
Yeah, a few weeks ago. And then part of you wants to go out and have some fun. And part of you is exhausted and wants to stay and lay on the couch. Well, those are two inner voices. Those are two parts of you, and they have different beliefs and they have different needs. They have different wants, and that's how you get conflicted. And quite often the anxiety, what people are feeling, is actually the conflict between multiple parts.
And that makes sense.
So so the model that I use is to help my clients tease out which parts of them are fearful. And some of the fearful parts, people say, well, I can't really explain it. I don't have the language. I can't tell you. And what that does tell me is that it's probably a part that was created before you had language.
Yes.
It was an experiential part.
Oh, my goodness. That was a light bulb moment for me.
Yeah.
Before we even had language.
Yeah. So there are parts of us, like when we were laying in our crib, as babies. Babies are the great experimenters, right? They don't really understand the world yet. They have a need, and the need is not met, whether it's a dirty diaper or they're hungry or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And they aren't able to say, well, dad's at work and mom's in the kitchen cooking, or dad's in the kitchen cooking and mom's at work, whichever.
They're not there.
They're not there. And so they need to make sense, because our brains are meaning-making machines. Mm-hmm. And so a baby's laying there and it experiences a lack. It experiences something's not right. And so it has two choices. It either says there's something wrong with me and I need to fix it, or I am wrong. And one creates guilt and one creates shame. Mm. And anxiety is the fear of those young parts, quite often, that it's fear of the unknown. It's fear of the uncertain. A baby doesn't know whether you're coming back in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Right. It has no concept of time. And so we are driven by the need to know that we are going to survive, that we're going to be safe and secure. And if the child laying in the crib feels unsafe and unsecure, it creates a belief about the world, like the world is not a safe place. Mm-hmm. The world is a place to be feared. And so digging down, like that's just one example, but digging down into the very roots. I call them roots because we have lots of weeds in our minds. Kind of like, I like to use the dandelion. Dandelions are such a useful plant. Yeah. But if
a taproot.
Yeah. And what we know about dandelions is you can stomp on them and they look like they're gone. And then the rains come and up they pop again. And so anxiety is very much that way. People do all kinds of things to manage their anxiety. Yes. But as soon as the rains come, and the rains are stress, any stress in life or any uncertainty in life or any unpredictability, and life is full of uncertainties and unpredictabilities, as we've seen over the last few weeks. Yeah. Then the weed sprouts again. Mm-hmm. So what I help clients do is we find out what the weeds are, and then we take them out by the root.
Yes. A little weeding going on.
A little weeding.
In the garden.
And then what that does is it creates a space in your mind, in your psyche, to plant something that is beautiful, that is desirable, that serves you, mm-hmm. instead of always reacting and responding and trying to manage these feelings. We have these feelings for good reason. Mm-hmm. We get triggered for good reason, but sometimes the reason is appropriate when you're 2. Not so much when you're 42.
But so much comes out of that piece that you just shared with us. The first thing that kind of popped up for me is like, this is another perspective of our inner child, that when we're adults and we're looking for the root of whatever this is for us, and it goes back to even before we had language, mm-hmm. right? And another perspective on how we care for our inner child as we're doing that healing, right? That's another big one.
Yeah.
And we were here with our friend Molly. She'd be telling them to drop the nuggets in the comments. Whatever they felt like, was their big aha moments for them, our audience. So,
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I love to speak in metaphor because our subconscious mind is it actually is likened to about a 9-year-old in terms of maturity, and it loves to play with words. It loves to play with pictures of metaphors and stories, and that's the part of our mind that we're really speaking to. That's the part of our mind in the model that I use that generates emotion. Now, we don't know what an emotion is. We don't know what the child, the inner children, are feeling until we get a response in the body.
Yes.
And that's so there's a difference between the word emotion and the word feeling. They are different things, but we use them interchangeably.
Yes, that's so
Yeah.
true. I have to ask you to do something for me.
Sure.
If you can pull the lid of your laptop towards you a bit so that your name isn't cutting you off.
How's that?
It's a little bit. Well, Rob just took our names off the screen, so I can't.
Oh, okay.
But that's good. That's good.
I
know. But I just wanted you to have the best positioning possible. Yeah. Oh, and
is that another? It's back.
Yeah, your video froze for a minute there.
I'm on the more solid interconnect connection on my end, and I'm having no problems with yours. So I got the feeling the problem's up in Ontario.
Okay. All right. Lorraine, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, good. Because your video.
Here.
You might want to refresh your screen and see how that goes. Okay. And in the meantime,
do you want me to refresh it?
Yeah. I don't know. Had you done it? I think she's good.
I can do it again if you like.
No, I'm thinking you probably should. One more time. I think it's. I agree with you, Rob. I think maybe it's the internet from Canada.
She's refreshing. She just dropped out. She'll be back. Here she comes.
She'll be back. All right. So I just wanted to say hi to a few people because I see that their comments are not coming into the studio. So I just want to say hi to a few people from my phone while we wait. Jessica, good to have you here.
Hang on.
Now your other camera is kind of blind.
We'll switch the cameras again.
Okay. I'm just saying hi to a few people while we're waiting. Margaret, Kimberly, hello. And there's Susan. And look, Andrew's here with us too. And Cindy's here. Hello, Lisa. And Lynn. Eddie's here with us. Good to have you here, guy. And Minnie's, one of my sisters is in the house. Minnie's in the house. And Stephanie is also here. And Anne, hi Anne. And one of my other sisters, Christine's in the house. And Violet's here too. So welcome everybody. And now that Lorraine's back, and look, your video is perfect.
Good.
And your audio is good too. Okay. So it's such a good conversation. I love these kind of conversations. So, okay, you raised probably a good question for some people in the audience when you said emotions and feelings are two different things, but we use them interchangeably. Could you give us a little bit more on that so that people won't, if they can follow the
logic?
The logic of it.
Sure. So as I said, all models are wrong, but they're useful. So in the model of the mind that I use to help my clients understand anxiety, we have the conscious mind, which is what we're using right now to chit chat back and forth with. And the conscious mind loves to solve problems.
Yes.
The subconscious mind, what I should tell you, though, is that the conscious mind is very limited. It is the most recent part of our brain to be created, and it is limited to 7 to 9 pieces of information at any one time. So although it's powerful, it is very limited. The bulk of our brain is actually the subconscious mind, and it is unlimited, or at least we think it is. It holds every single thought, belief, experience, sensation. For instance, the example I give is if someone needs to remember a license plate, if they need, if they were in an accident, they need to recall a license plate and they can't, then we can literally go backwards through the experiences in the subconscious and reveal that information. It's amazing. Similarly, if they've had an event that's happened in their childhood, and everyone thinks that it's going to be traumatic, it's going to be a huge event, but usually it's something that is significant to one of the parts of us. But our parts, as I said at the beginning, we are a collection of parts, and our parts have different thoughts and feelings and beliefs. And so the thought creates an emotion, or the belief creates an emotion.
Okay.
We don't know what that emotion is. Let me give you an example. You see people on a roller coaster, and they're screaming, as they're coming down the roller coaster, as I would be.
Hanging out for dear life.
You have no idea if they are screaming from abject terror or excitement. It looks the same.
Yeah, it does.
Does not feel the same. Chemically in your body, what happens is you have an emotion, and then it goes into the unconscious mind, which is your autonomic nervous system. It beats your heart, it dilates your eyes, the pupils in your eyes, that kind of thing. It regulates your blood pressure and all of that kind of thing. And so it makes changes in your body so that you can feel the emotion.
Okay.
And so the emotion is generated by the subconscious. And it's not really understood until it is felt, as it is interpreted by the feelings and sensations in the body. Which is why you can have somebody who is highly anxious, and for one person it makes them break out in a sweat, and for another person it gives them a stomach ache, and for another one it's migraines, and for another it can be heart palpitations. Each person feels their emotions differently. Now we've got some generalizations because we're all human, but that's how you end up with different people experiencing similar, emotions, but feeling very differently.
Right. Okay. And there again, it kind of helps us to discern for ourselves when those moments that we felt that anxiety, right? The feelings, and then we can kind of look at what were the emotions at the time. And then what would I call that feeling that I had? So that's really, really good. It helps us in our own discerning when we understand the difference between an emotion and a feeling.
Yeah.
But they're not the same. They're not the same thing.
Well, they're generated differently.
Yeah.
You can actually have a similar emotion with two different feelings in your body. It's actually controlled by two different parts. So, I mean, I don't want to get into too much complexity.
Yeah, I was just going to say, us two-leggeds, us humans, man, are we complicated species or what?
Yeah.
And just because we have opposable thumbs, we think that we're at the top of the food chain.
Well, and that's what I love to do. I love to do that inner detective work that we talked about at the beginning. The inner detective work, and it's playful detective work. I mean, you can take yourself super seriously, which sometimes people do, or you can realize that we are here for, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And the concept behind anxiety is quite often fear of death. And so a lot of people have not taken the time, or perhaps had the opportunity, given themselves the opportunity to really explore what death means to them and what they think about it. If I can share a little bit of a story about that.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, please do.
A number of years ago, both of my parents were diagnosed with different terminal illnesses, a few weeks apart. And I spent the better of 2.5 years in palliative care, caring for each of them. And I call that time. I mean, it was a horrible time, and it created a great deal of angst in my life, as you might anticipate. But I call that time the gift.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a gift from spirit, because death was like right here,
Yeah.
all the time.
All the time. Mm-hmm.
I lost my mom, my dad, and my father-in-law all within 9 months. So I was dealing with death a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I call it the gift because I really had to come to grips with my own beliefs and my own understanding
Mm-hmm.
about what life and death is all about.
Mm-hmm.
And once I gained that belief structure, and everything we do is predicated on beliefs.
Yeah.
Every, our whole being, in our whole existence. I mean, we believe you and I are talking to each other at the moment. We believe that the computer is working.
Yeah.
We believe that we are here on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So everything, in order to function here, we have to have a set of beliefs.
Yeah.
And quite often anxiety is a belief that I'm going to die. And that, again, comes from when you're very young and you're in a crib and your needs aren't met. If your needs aren't met, let's face it, if a baby cannot find a way to ingratiate itself to the adults around it, the truth is it could die. So it's not a ridiculous belief, but it is one that is unfounded in terms of when you're an adult, you've got a different perspective. And when you are spiritual, when you have a spiritual understanding, you realize that we never die.
Right.
So
the part of us that's having this experience is immortal, right?
Yeah. So in that model of the mind that I talked about, the part that I didn't bring in yet is the superconscious, or the spiritual part, which of course can always come in and inform what we're doing. And I find it curious that when I ask for information, if I get it, that gets wonderful. And if I don't, I'm not supposed to have it.
At that time.
At that time. It might come later.
It might. Yeah. Because, I truly believe that whenever we're healing anything, and especially when we're focusing on healing our emotional and mental traumas, that to have the complete healing, if you can put that in air quotes, complete, is that it goes through all of our bodies, all of our layers, all of those layers that you were talking about. The different facets of us. Some people would, and we would call this in our community, our emotional, our mental, our physical, and our spiritual bodies.
Yep.
Is that, and we experience that healing in every layer of those. And then that's why I'm always going, let's go to the root. Because once we get to the root and we get through all the healing and all those layers, then we have a completeness, and we can actually maybe turn around and say, now I understand why I had to go through X, Y, and Z. And see, and that's where I think we gain our wisdom from that, because then we can use what we learned, right, in application in our own lives, and maybe help someone else. And that's where our wisdom comes in, because we're actually using it. We're actually applying it, what we learned,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I have clients, I've had people say, well, I just don't want to feel anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to break it to them, but this world, this life is about having experiences.
Right.
And some of them are great and some of them not so great.
Right.
And if we are fearful, again, if we're anxious, if we're fearful of what an experience could be, then we literally, in my understanding, we manifest it into that outcome.
Yes.
So, how many times have people been nervous or concerned about something that might happen next week, and then lo and behold, it happens. They go, I told you so.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, in my understanding of the world, just manifested into me.
And it takes a lot of emotion to do that, because you have to feel it. You have to
It does.
fix it in order to bring it into the physical world. And so, you know,
Yeah.
oh, your
And
audio and your video is kind of wonky again. A little
no.
wonkiness. It's yeah. Maybe if we, because your video is frozen. I know you can still hear me. You're still here with us. So
Be my internet.
yeah, I think so. That's what Rob was saying.
I'll refresh.
Okay, all right.
I'll refresh.
Yeah, go ahead
Okay.
and refresh, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, I'll take a look in the chat room to see if we've got anybody going on here. Hey, Susan's here. Hi, Susan. Good to have you here. Robin is here. Esperanza's joining us too. Good for you, Esperanza. Glad to have you here. And Rob is saying numbness is overrated. Well, you know, when Lorraine gets back, one of the things I want to ask her about is resiliency. You know, and I think that has somewhat to do with what we're all kind of been going through as a humanity during this time frame, right? And and get all these bells going off. There she is. She's going to switch her camera again.
Switch that camera again.
Yeah.
Oh, let me
That's
see.
okay.
There, how's that? Let me switch it. I think the other camera's better.
Okay. All right. Good. Oh. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I have no idea why this is cutting in and out this way, but
Well, you know, a couple weeks ago, I was completely lost my internet here, and I had a guest, and she could come in. I couldn't even get into the studio, and you know,
well, I did.
It's grand when it works.
And here, of course, I'm on Eastern time.
Yeah.
And this is the time of the evening that I find that most people are streaming.
Oh, I see.
In the area.
Oh, I
so
it's taxing the computer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, while you were refreshing your screen, I was telling our audience is one of the things I want to ask you about is the time that we find ourselves in across Grandmother Earth. All of us are experiencing something around the shelter in place, you know, the virus, the whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're about ready to. Many people are in their parts of the world are starting to go out again, and maybe in a kind of in a limited way, but you know they're starting to re-enter. And I wanted to ask you a couple questions about that and around resiliency because we've spent so much time. Some of us, maybe the first time spending quality time with ourselves, or at least moments where we could do some reflection and or comparing and contrasting, kind of what's my life like, what's it going to be like. And some people I know are probably very unsettled because there's a lot of unknowns out there. You know?
Our media and our governments have done an absolutely amazing job of creating the monster under the bed,
stirring it up. Yes, I agree.
So you know that survival, fight or flight, fold, freeze.
Mm-hmm.
They have created a situation. I mean, part of what I should have let you know at the beginning as well is that I also have a degree in biology, and much of it is microbiology.
Oh my. We could have another discussion.
Yeah. So they created this monster under the bed or in the closet, wherever your monster when you were a child resided. Mm-hmm. And they have created this, and they've put absolutely ridiculous, from my perspective, things in place to elicit fear.
It's true.
So what I said the other day on a live on my own business page was, I said, shh, I'm going to tell you a secret. Lean in. Number one, a virus is not alive. It's not sentient. It has no intention to infect you or me. So there's no intention there. Number two, it doesn't jump. It's not a flea. So this whole, whether you're 6 feet or 60 feet apart, it doesn't know. Number 3, it has no idea what a line or a circle or color is. So whether you're behind the line, on the line, in front of the line. I had some poor woman the other day in one of the stores. She was panicked because my cart rolled 3 inches over the line. Honestly, I mean, the damage that is being done to her psyche and her body because of this paranoid, panic, fear, anxiety is just, my own feeling is that yes, the pandemic is real and serious, and we have to take some precautions. But my own feeling is that this isn't the pandemic. The pandemic is what we will see as a fallout to all this fear and stress. It's unnatural to keep any human being in this state of fear for survival. It's for an extended length of time. It's PTSD.
Yes. And there's going to be a lot of that.
Post-traumatic stress disorder. And we're at the tip of the iceberg.
There'll be a new name for it. There'll be a new name of something.
Yeah, it'll be coronavirus something. But it all boils down to the fear of death. The monster under the bed, the monster in the closet. When a child experiences that very real fear, real to them.
Yes.
It is fear of survival.
Yeah.
It'll get me, it'll eat me, I'll be destroyed. And a child doesn't have the experience to know that that's not true.
Right. Right. And so, our inner child is being, I was just talking about this a couple of weeks ago with some of my sisters, and we were saying that the inner child, I truly believe everything happens for a deeper reason, and there's no coincidences. And so taking a look at the time that we have, and given everything that is going on, even the stirring up and the creating of a lot more levels of panic and fear, those of us that have been working and healing our inner child for a long time, it raises different things that come to the surface that may not have come to the surface in some time. And so anything that comes to the surface means that we're ready, we're capable, we have tools to be able to deal with it, to heal it. If we didn't, it wouldn't come to the surface.
Exactly. So when the restart happens, one of the things that I'm talking to my clients and to you, our listeners, about is be aware of the gaslighting that's going to happen. The big business and government is going to want us back to work. They're going to want us back unconscious and doing what we were doing in the previous normal. I invite people to take a breath right now and think about how they want to respond. What works for you now? This has been an amazing time. It's a pause. It has been an opportunity for some deep introspection, some development of resiliency.
Yes.
To really examine what you think and feel. And I invite you not to be too fast jumping back into the way things were. I invite you to think about how you want to create your new normal, and being aware of your inner child, inner children, the parts of you that are afraid to go out. I mean, acknowledge them. They've heard some pretty horrific things from social media. And I happen to have a microbiology background, so some of it I can very easily tell my part. So don't be ridiculous. That's silly. And they believe me. Other people might not have that background, and so they don't. They may have other ways that they need to soothe their inner children, and I invite all of us to listen to when we're anxious and when we're nervous, it's little parts of us that need to be listened to, need to be soothed and healed. And as you pointed out, it's an opportunity for healing. Whatever comes up for you is an opportunity for healing. I always talk about obstacles versus opportunities.
Yeah.
And those of us that are aware of our inner selves and working through spirit can turn obstacles into opportunities.
Yes, we can. We're really, really good at it.
Yeah.
We're really good at it. So the resiliency then, from what I can understand, what you just said is that the resiliency is kind of, I don't want to call it a byproduct, but it comes with us being able to self-soothe ourselves through the anxiety, and to recognize it and to acknowledge, this is what I'm afraid of. This is what my fear is about. Um, and the more often that we can identify that, the resiliency tends to grow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And there's tools. There's all kinds of tools. I offer a course, online course, a 4-part course about revealing and healing anxiety. And I call it the 8 sneaky symptoms of anxiety, because quite often people don't even recognize some of the forms of anxiety. And in that course, one of the things that I offer to people are different tools that they can use to recognize. That's why I call it reveal, to recognize, reveal, and relieve and release anxiety. And that is the process of healing. And
that's so great. Now, I do know that we have the link, right, to that information, just in case there's somebody in our audience that is like, I want to find out a little bit more about that. So, Rob, if you could drop the link to Reveal and Heal there, and also in the comments, so that kind of travels comments, that would be great. Thank you, Rob. Oh, and there's Lorraine's, one of her website addresses.
And actually, I can give your listeners a direct link to that. Might be easier.
Okay.
It's actually Lorraine.gives, GIVES /heal, HEAL -anxiety, ANXIETY. So Lorraine.gives /heal -anxiety.
Lorraine, you're going to need to type that and send it.
Okay, where do I type it?
Hang on. I thought you sent that to us, but maybe you didn't.
I thought
I have Lorraine.gives serves you bot.
Yeah, that's it. Well, you can also go through my bot, which is called Serve You Bot, and she will eventually get you there. But Rob, can you tell me where to type it, and I can
Go ahead and spell it out.
Okay, it's my name, Lorraine, LORRAINE .gives, the word gives, GIVES / the word heal, HEAL -anxiety, ANXIETY. And that's a direct link to the e-course.
Oh, good. Thank you. Because I'm sure there's going to be, a few people in our audience who actually want to maybe take a look at it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks, Rob, for putting it in there. Okay, and so because
that's it.
I don't know. I don't see a lot of the comments in the studio, Rob. So I'm not sure if you can put Lisa's, let's start with Lisa's, if you can. Put her comment up here. Lisa is saying, why do I feel nothing about the virus? It doesn't exist in my reality.
Well, and that's a really interesting comment. I love that comment, actually, because we were talking about models. The whole concept of viruses is a model. We actually have no idea what a virus looks like. We know what bacteria look like. We can see those under a microscope. But a virus is a piece of protein wrapped in fat. So all these pretty little pictures that they're showing us. And now maybe I'm out of date. Maybe now we have like super powerful microscopes that we didn't have, when I was at university. But my understanding is that we actually don't know what a virus looks like. And so it makes sense to have no feeling about it.
Yeah, I would think that that's a good place to be in.
I would think so too. It's also it's whatever our mind can conceive and believe, we can create. So if your mind can't conceive it and you don't believe it, then you probably don't have to worry about it.
There's no anxiety in that unless you want to have an anxiety about not believing it,
Yeah. Whereas, as I said, our governments and our media have created this amazing monster under the bed, like it's everywhere and it's out to get you. And I'm sorry, I laugh. It's not funny for people who are truly anxious about it. But if you actually take the perspective that this is something that is not living in the way that we consider normal life, it has no intention. It doesn't move unless we move it. And I know some people are very, very ill, but if I wanted to make people sick, Neshi, how would I do it?
Plant the seed.
Exactly. And so if I tell people over and over and over again, stay safe, don't get sick, your brain doesn't hear the don't to begin with. And stay safe. They wanted me to put up big posters in my school a couple of years ago, a few years back, that said stay safe. I refused to put them up because what is the message under stay safe?
It means that you're in trouble right now.
It means that there's something there that is not safe.
Yeah.
And right. I refuse to put that in my school. I refuse to have my children believe that there is something that they have to be aware of to make them safe. Like, no, you are perfectly fine. You are perfectly safe.
Right.
Wash your hands. Be smart. Don't kiss strangers or family members if they've been, hanging out with other people. Like, I mean, it's just
a little common sense, and one of the
common sense.
One of the things they said is that it kind of takes us back to maybe in our childhood, really, because can you remember when you'd be outside playing and it was supper time and you got called in to have supper? What was the very first thing one of your parents would say to you?
Go wash your hands.
Go wash your hands.
They were covered in dirt, of course.
Covered in dirt or something, right? So, yeah, and I don't want to, make light of it because we do have a lot of elders that are having problems, and the whole Navajo Nation is having some real difficulty, and so I don't want to make jokes and laugh about it kind of thing, but there is the common sense piece.
Well, and there is something that is out there that is making people ill.
Yes.
What that is, we're told, is called a virus. Okay. They call everything a virus when they don't know what it is. It's a catch-all phrase. But I also believe that when you tell people that there's something out there that's going to make you sick, especially if it targets, if you're over the age of 60, what are people going to do? They're going to get sick.
Not
over the age of 60,
because that's not me.
It has affected. Like, I believe that I probably had this thing, whatever it is, last Christmas, and I had 5 or 6 days of feeling pretty, awful. I had almost every symptom that they're describing. And there wasn't a whisper about it in the media. And I spent 5 days watching TV and not eating and feeling a little bit crappy. I got to lose weight. I had a very quiet Christmas. And then I got better just because I told myself I would get better. I gave myself permission to be sick for a few days and then get over it.
Right. Actually, I kind of remember that. And my husband was sick too, right around the same time.
And hundreds, we called it the plague. We jokingly called it the plague. Oh my goodness, another one's got the plague. And so, in my mind, it was probably, I don't know what it was. I mean, I don't even believe that, half the time the tests, they say they can test. Well,
I want to bring up one more comment. If you could bring up Kimberly's comment, please, Rob. Kimberly saying is, yes, you're right. There'll be many after effects for a lot of people. Limiting their television news time is helpful.
Absolutely. You are in control of what goes into your mind and your brain.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
As an adult, as a child, you weren't, which is why I wanted to mention for some of your viewers, Neshi, about the word trauma. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think that trauma has to be like an absolutely horrendous event. Mm. And trauma does not have to be a horrendous event. Mm-hmm. But what it does do is it's an event where you are not seen or known. Mm-hmm. So an example for my own life, if I hope your viewers don't mind this story, sure. But I did not eat vegetables other than peas, corn, carrots, and potato. I did not eat anything else for 52 years. And I started an eating program where I had to eat vegetables. And I thought to myself, well, I don't eat vegetables. This is ridiculous. I'm a hypnotherapist. I got to figure out why I don't eat vegetables. So I did some regression, and I found out that my 3-year-old made a rule. And that's because my mother was feeding me these plates full of vegetables. And then I was going into the bathroom and it was hurting me to go to the toilet. So I made the connection. Vegetables will hurt you. Don't eat vegetables. Mm-hmm. So I would feed them to the dog and I'd bury them in plants and I'd keep them in my cheeks and not eat them and that kind of thing. So for 52 years, I didn't eat vegetables. And then I thought, well, okay, so why is a 3-year-old having so much trouble in the bathroom? Let's figure this piece out. Mm-hmm. And it was, and you'll laugh when I tell you, when I was about 18 months old, between 18 months and 2 years, mm-hmm. I was out shopping with my mummy and I was British. So I'd say, Mummy, I have to go to the toilet. And her words were, be a good girl, see how long you can hold it. Well, let me tell you, I felt unseen. And I felt not known. And I put 2 and 2 together and I realized that good girls hold it. Mm-hmm. And I did for days.
Oh, no.
And days. And that's why at 3, my mother was trying to get me to go to the toilet. And she fed me vegetables, which hurt me. So I stopped eating them. Mm-hmm. And that's trauma.
Yeah. Yep.
So trauma doesn't have to be something horrendous. I mean, my mom's not living anymore, but she would be mortified to know that her words are what caused so much strife in my life. Yeah. But I didn't feel heard. I didn't feel seen or known when I was little about that issue in the bathroom. And I took the lack of, resolving that problem and her words to mean something totally
different. Yeah. And so now I have to ask this question then.
Yeah.
Great audience. We have to ask this question is when you revealed the reason why, went to the root, revealed it, did what you had to do to understand it and heal it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was the life lesson around that for you as an adult? What did you learn about all of that? Because there was a reason why it came up for you at your age as an adult, and you had to go back to figure that out.
The bigger reason was because I needed to help some clients with what they were doing. So my experience of that was the basis of helping some of my other clients
Mm-hmm.
with their issues.
Mm-hmm.
It also revealed to me how we can live like this. This is an example of beliefs. So my 3-year-old believed that vegetables will hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
And so for 52 years, I listened to a 3-year-old part of me.
Mm-hmm.
I was living my life according to the rules of a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
And we do that with all kinds of things.
Oh yeah.
So the life lesson for me has been to question what I'm doing and question why I behave a certain way. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I'm always curious.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm always curious. Like, that's a really interesting thought. That's a really interesting belief. That's a really interesting behavior. What's beneath that? What's
Yeah.
under that?
What was that all about? That's always mine. What was that all about?
And
And you go seeking, you go searching,
yeah,
and for that to
and
get that root. Yeah.
and that's the question. What is that all about?
Yeah.
And what I've discovered is the more I discover the layers within me, the better I am at helping others reveal their layers.
Yeah.
So, and some of the layers are easy to reveal, and other layers, I have my own coach, my own hypnotherapist, because there are things that are hidden from me because there are protective parts of me that don't feel I need to know. Well, as an adult, I'm sorry, I am in charge of my psyche and I will find out. And, unless it's spirit, if spirit doesn't want to reveal something, then it doesn't matter how hard you try.
Right. Right.
It won't be revealed.
Only in divine timing.
In divine timing. Yeah. Yeah. There are things about myself and my own functioning in this world, my own cycles of, like, we all have cycles within our lives. And I have 2 or 3 that I have been examining for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
And spirit has not, it's not divine time for me to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm open to understanding it. I'm still curious. I'm still, asking, but I am accepting that it is not in divine timing that I understand. So I just keep doing what I can to manage those cycles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I have so enjoyed having you here with us this evening. It's been revealing. It has been, I just love these kind of conversations. I really do, because I really do believe that we learn so much from each other
Oh, yeah.
when we share our stories, and when we share about our gifts. I truly believe that we learn so much from each other, and I want to thank you for
Well,
your
thank you for having me.
yeah, yeah. And I also wanted to thank our audience for being here with us, all those in the live chat. Thank you so much. And those that'll be watching this as a recording, thank you. And we do have Lorraine's contact information in the comments. So if you want to contact her about any of the things that she shared with us, please do. Um, yeah. And I thank you for making time for us to be here tonight.
Oh, you're more than welcome. And I've thoroughly enjoyed our chats. All of our chats tonight and all of the other chats. And I'm happy to, if your audience has questions or if they want to, email me and ask me something, I'm more than happy to try and answer their questions or help them to ask their own questions
Oh,
to
yeah.
reveal their own inner.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And I also wanted to let our audience know, because many of the people who are in the audience are also a part of the private groups that we have for Star Nations, both the live stream shows and the Academy. And Lorraine is actually part of our Star Nations community. She's a member of those. And so you'll see her in there making comments, because I've seen it. She's commented on something and I've commented on her comments. So yeah, so you guys are all in the same private groups, and so you can also watch for
Mhm.
Lorraine in those groups too. Okay.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you. Lisa's saying thank you both. You're welcome, Lisa. You're very welcome. And I saw Minnie was saying thank you as well. Yeah. So audience, thank you so much. And you know what? Bama Mina. That's Potawatomi for until we see each other again.
That's
Love you guys.
beautiful.
Love you guys. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.